Well, thank you, Byron, and we got lucky as well, and we've got our old boy Mvula. So boys team strikes again this morning, and it seems as though we are having a wonderful morning. So leopard number 3, 3 wild dogs and a whole bunch of elephants certainly is an epic way to start a day and to spend Feline Friday with the old chap Mvula himself, and he's looking fantastic as always. He doesn't look skinny anyway. He's just come out of a really thick, deep drainage off Gari Cutline, and I'm super impressed that we've even got signal here, because Gari Cutline generally is a difficult place to actually get signal, and so I'm happy that at least we're able to be gremlin free. And it seems as though he's found himself a spot to now rest. He's been moving and now he's lying down and just starting to groom himself, and he's got a bit of shade there, so it seems like the perfect place in order to spend the day. And I'm hoping that he'll just lie down here, and this afternoon he'll still be around for the girls, because it's one thing to be the boys team, but it's also awesome just to have Mvula around. He's such a special cat and an old one, and I know he's a favorite of many of yours because he's got the most beautiful eyes, and well, he is an older chap, and all of a sudden he's almost making a sort of resurgence to this area. Tingana's been not seen too much lately and seems to be too preoccupied down in the south, and Mvula's come back and we're seeing so many sightings of him, and it really is a pleasure to actually see him. And I wonder if Mvula's realized that without Tingana being around here, there's a perfect place for him to walk around. Now, Nikki, you were saying that it's interesting that we haven't been seeing too much of Tingana, but a lot of Mvula, and it is. It's. I don't know why Tingana has not been around as much as normal. I suspect that there's something else going on that Tingana is busy attending to, and I hypothesize, this is not in any way confirmed, but I think Kuchava down in the south is starting to come into heat, and that's keeping him busy down there. I think the scent of her is maybe why he's patrolling further south of us rather than where we are now. And also I know that Anderson has been mating with Salesh, so maybe he's been hearing that and been pushing to the west slightly, and that's allowing us to get lots of sightings of Mvula, which I'm not complaining about. I quite like Mvula. In fact, I really like Mvula. He's a beautiful cat, and I'm astounded at how well he's done, because 2 years ago everyone was almost writing him off as an old boy that has been dethroned and he's going to lose condition quickly. But as you can see, he's done just fine, and he still looks fantastic. He's still got a big set of shoulders on him, and he's not looking skinny at all. Well, since the last time we were seen, I think he must have gotten some sort of a meal. There he goes. Now, don't go into this drainage. Don't be naughty, because if you go in here, I'm not going to be able to follow you too far. But we'll try and keep up with him as best we can. I'm just going to wait for him to come around, because it looks like he's going to come perfectly out into the open through this little gap. There he is. As you can just see him coming slowly through now. Come on, boy, turn to your left. No, don't turn to your right. Left, come on. There we go. But look at how good he looks. Nikki, you say you love his tattered ears. I know he does have tatty ears, and, well, he's an old gentleman now. And I say gentleman because he's one of those leopards that really seems to be quite relaxed around other leopards. So you would think that he would be quite aggressive towards other young males and females, but I've seen him spend a lot of time with young males and females and been quite chilled with them. So I call him a gentleman just because of the way that he interacts with other leopards, and I know he steals kills from them from time to time, but generally he's a very relaxed individual. Now don't go down there, don't be naughty, come on, stay here. You say he looks so tough. Well, he does look tough. He's not a small leopard, make no mistake. He's not quite as large as what we see from Tingana and Anderson, but he's not small either. And he is a very stocky leopard. He's thick around the shoulders and the neck area, and he's a leopard that you kind of, when he looks at you, he almost looks as though he means business. So he's one that I really enjoy seeing, and when you see his eyes, which hopefully he'll stop enough for me to get to his eyes, then you'll see he's got the most intimidating set of eyes. When he was younger and really in his prime, when he looked at you, you knew that you were being stared at by a big dominant male leopard. Now where has he gone? Oh, there he is. I can see him. He's coming straight through. He should come right through towards us now, I hope. No, don't turn that way. No. Keep coming this way, boy. So he's just in this thicket, and this is what I was saying just now, is that it is a really difficult place to move around, and I was hoping that he was going to settle and start to kind of groom himself, but I think where he was, maybe it was just got a little bit too hot for him, and so he's now moving again and trying to kind of get down and get towards a better shady area, but he's going to come straight towards us. And like I say, look at these eyes when he comes through. He's going to come through this gap in front of me now, and the eyes are something phenomenal. No, don't turn that way because we can't see your eyes then. There we go. Look at that. Isn't he beautiful? Hello, old friend. It has been a long time that I have been seeing this leopard. So the first time I laid eyes upon Mvula was in early 2011, and so that is not a short period to have spent around him, and I've seen lots of amazing sightings with him, spent a lot of time in his presence, followed him, seen some of the most incredible interactions like we were talking about just now, and so he really is like an old friend, Mvula. I've really enjoyed the time that I have gotten to spend around this cat. He still has probably the singular best hunt that I've seen by a leopard, and it was because it was almost cheetah-like in the way that he went about it. He basically chased from over 100 meters away and managed to pull down this impala. It was really quite something to watch. He was incredible, is that because normally leopards are ambush predators. They'll go and they'll try and stalk, and they get very close, and then they ambush from there. But he was a little bit different. He chased from over 100 meters away, and he just sprinted like a cheetah would, caused absolute panic, and one impala ran straight at him. He then grabbed this impala, a fully grown male impala, grabbed that, pulled it down, suffocated it. Hyenas arrived. He then dragged it all the way, it must have been about 50 meters, to a tree. As he got to the base of the tree, he jumped with the carcass, and the carcass was too heavy after all of this running and carrying on. I think he was a bit exhausted, and as he jumped, the hyena grabbed the leg of the impala, and it was just too much weight with the impala and the hyena, and he dropped it, and the hyenas took it. But it was just the most incredible sighting to have watched, and to see a leopard hunt in a way that is very different to what everyone believes leopards hunt like. He didn't just kind of go in and stalk and take his time. He just ran from across an open area, and it was very cool to see. Unfortunately, it was really in sort of dingy light, so I didn't get any photos of him doing it, but it was just incredible to watch a leopard move that way. Now he's going into an area where I really don't think I'm going to be able to follow him. I'm going to try, but I don't think it's going to be possible. Now I believe Byron is sitting with something that Mvula himself patiently sat and waited for, and is something that he really likes to go after. So while I catch up with Mvula, let's go see what Byron has. We have indeed, behind the thickets of Agwari lies the beautiful spotted coat of Mvula, and he's just settled right on the precipice of this drainage line, and well, we are kind of right on the edge, and I'm keeping my foot on the brake just because I'm a little bit nervous of where we are. It's not ideal, as I will show you just now, but look at his tatty ears that we were talking about earlier. You can see those ears are telling the stories of a male that has gone through plenty in his life, and those are all war stories from his times that he's fought with other males, where he's run through thickets. And can you imagine what those ears have seen in the 12 and a half or almost 13 years of Mvula being alive? It really is an interesting animal to look at, and it's amazing how each one of those will be representative of a story. You can see lots of flies around the ears, which is fairly typical. You will see that a lot around leopards and lions. One of the biting flies gather there, and especially with him, because of the amount of damage that those ears have taken, there's been ticks that have been on them, there's probably little bits of exposed flesh, and that's where the flies are going and having a look. You can actually see they go into those little V's and places where it is not very pleasant for a fly to be. But he's just lounging now right on the banks, and from here he has a beautiful view. So in front of us the drainage line drops away completely, and then it goes over onto the other side. So where you see here, that is probably a, I would say, what do you think, Seb? 20-meter drop? Maybe a 20-meter drop straight down. There's this pretty much a vertical bank that we are on the edge of, so I've got my foot on the brake in case it does give way slightly, that we can reverse quickly. But it's looks as though we're not too close to the edge, so we should be okay. And like I say, if he goes any further, there's not really going to be too much we can do. But look at those massive front paws that he's got. Huge. And nice slow breathing rate, so he's not in any way too full. He's not hot as yet. But you can see that he's not exactly empty either. So he must have got a meal since we last saw him, because the last time we saw him, he was a little bit on the skinnier side. After that Shongile story where he took Shongile's kill, he wasn't looking as full and healthy as he is now. And there's a little white tip to the tail, but his coat is beautiful. There's one thing about Mvula that I've always sort of liked, is he's got quite a gold colour on his back. You see there, he's got a very golden coat. And Tumba reminds me a bit of that as well. Tumba's also got very gold colour. And isn't that beautiful? You can see why leopard print became so popular, because there's lots of colours and stark contrasts between the two. So, Misha, you're asking what the average lifespan is of a leopard. Well, it varies between male and female. So males, because they spend a lot of their time being territorially dominant, they've got to fight for their territory. They've got to make sure that they keep other males at bay, and they really have to kind of work hard to be the dominant male. It means that they have a situation where, unfortunately, they end up fighting a lot and their lifespan is shorter. So you'll find that male leopards, generally within this section of the world, will live anywhere between 12 and 14 years is a good sort of age for a male leopard. That's why Mvula is on the older side of that. He's, approaching 13 now, which means that he's eventually going to become an old boy. But for now, still doing good. And I actually was looking at his teeth the other day. His teeth look fantastic for his age. They're still quite long and sharp, so he's not like his teeth have worn down. He's just got to be careful of other male leopards, and so far he seems to be quite a clever lad and has managed to avoid all these other males that have been around. So he's avoided Tingana and Anderson and Quarantine and Kunyuma and Shivambalana. He's kind of kept them all at bay, and he just kind of moves around in between them, so he's done really well. On the female side of things, you'll find that females can live anywhere between sort of 16 and 18 is a good age for a female, but sometimes they'll even go as far as 20, but that's very rare, and unfortunately sometimes you'll get them dying a little bit earlier, around sort of 13, 14, 15, which is what we've seen with some of the other leopards in this area. So it's quite variable, but generally they're sort of mid to late teens is a good way to put it for leopards. That's normally how long they go for. But I think this is where he's decided is going to be the rest for the day. I don't think he's going to move too much from here. He's got such a beautiful spot, and the shade here is really nice. He's got a little bit of a breeze blowing, so even if that sun gets up and starts moving around, you're going to find that there's going to be nice shade from all these tamburtis. You can see it's the perfect place for a leopard to spend time. And why leopards are so difficult to find. You will never spot this leopard from any road in particular. You will never be able to, even following in a vehicle, it would have been tough to have found him without actually following him himself inside here. And his camouflage works so well. We're right on top of him. We're probably now about 3-4 meters from where he is. But if you have a situation where you are about 100 meters away or 50 meters away, you will not see this cat at all. So perfect place for a leopard to spend time. There'll be varying prey animals that might move through here: nyala, kudu, bushbuck, impalas that will all walk along these drainage lines during the day, and so he does have an opportunity to strike if a prey animal does come. And then later tonight, drainage sections like this are really good places for things like porcupines. You'll also find warthogs will go back to their burrows that might be on the fringes of this drainage line, so it's a great place for him to spend the day and wait it out. And I'm pretty sure that the girls this afternoon might be able to find him. I don't think he's going to go too far from where he is now, given that he's just gone absolutely flat. The only way he would move is if something bumps into him, so either something like elephants chase him or he sees a food item that he wants to hunt. But otherwise, I think he might be down for the day, and that's exactly where he's going to stay. Hopefully he does stay, Seb. It would be nice. You'll have to bring one of the girls here, because you're going to have to guide them in. It's not easy to get here. So, Michael, you're asking, when did Mvula first show up in this part of the Sabi Sands? So he first, I think, was seen, I'm just trying to remember now, it must have been 2010, I think, beginning of 2010, somewhere there. Beginning to mid-2010, I think, is when he first was seen coming up into this northern section. I'm not so much sure about Djuma. He used to be seen a lot more down to the south, so Hofmans, Little Gowrie, Vessels, Chitwa, Nets, in Koro, Cheetah Plains. That's where he used to be a lot more than what he is now. Now he spends more of his time up here in the north. But I think it was late 2009, early 2010 was be my sort of estimate around that area, if I remember correctly. Because when I got here, he was a dominant male, but not if he was pushing him Mafufanyan at that stage. He hadn't quite asserted himself yet. He'd only been in the area for the past few months, and so it must have been 2010 must be when he arrived. So been here for quite a while, and it's a long time to be in an area if you think about it. He's been 6 years, 7 years in this section, and so that's most of his life. If you think that he's only just over 12 now, he's going to have spent more time up here than he did anywhere else in the world. So been a long stint that he's put in, and it doesn't look like it's going anywhere anytime soon. He's looking in fantastic condition. There's no sort of signs of his aging other than his ears and a few sort of almost what looks like worn spots with faded spots on his neck area. The rest of him looks absolutely perfect. Maritza, you're saying with Mvula being an older leopard, would he mate if he got the chance? Well, most definitely. The thing with him is that he has actually mated last year. He mated with Shaluva, and he took his chance when he got it. And if Tingana is not paying attention and a female came into heat within this area and there was no sign of Tingana, he most definitely will take the opportunity to mate. Being a male leopard, even though he's not territorially dominant at the moment and he's not scent marking and vocalizing, that doesn't mean that if he doesn't come across a female, he won't try and mate with her. He most definitely would. The thing is, though, and why Tingana probably is not spending much time up here, is that there really isn't too many female leopards in this northern part of Djuma and into Buffelshoek. I was talking to the Buffelshoek landowners the other day, and they were telling me that they're not seeing any female leopards in Buffelshoek at the moment. There's one shy one right on the Kruger boundary, but that's way east of even Tingana's territory. And so there's probably not too many females around, and that's why Tingana's not too worried about this area at this stage. If a female did come into this area, I'm pretty sure Tingana would be hot on his heels and maybe then push Mvula away from this section. But for now, if a female did rock up and there was no sign of Tingana, most definitely Mvula would take his chance and try and get a little bit of action with the female. Now I'm trying to get rid of a whole bunch of branches that are stuck up my jersey, so if you hear some rustling, I do apologize because they are irritating slightly. This is what happens when you follow dogs and leopards in the mornings, is you get covered in all kinds of things, particularly the dogs, because you tend to race through thickets and you end up getting leaves and branches all over the car, and it's a bit of a pity because, well, we washed the cars yesterday, so it's not ideal that they're getting all dirty again. All Taylor and my hard work has been destroyed in one morning, basically. Now, I'm going to sit here for a little bit longer because, well, in the presence of a legend is always very nice to sit and enjoy. But I believe there is something that Byron has got that Mvula also targets from time to time, and I've seen him eat quite a few around the Chitwa Dam area. View considering where he's actually lying, so at the moment it's quite nice. In fact, it might be quite good across the other side of the drainage too, because you'll be able to see him staring off into the distance, and I think there is a vehicle on that side, and that's why he's watching what's going on. He was flat and sleepy, but something just kind of piqued his interest. But you can see the eyes almost closing, and he, as much as he wants to stay awake, I think his body also wants to go to sleep too, so I'm sure his head is going to pop down fairly shortly. And well, thank you, mister, for popping out, because this was a welcome surprise, as well as the wild dogs. It seems as though we had a really interesting morning between them all, and it's definitely an area we're going to need to focus on a lot more up in the north here, because he is spending so much more time. Mike, you're asking, do leopards purr? No, they roar, so they like lions and tigers and jaguars, that you'll find that they roar, and then they make a lot of these sort of grunting, chuffing sounds is what they call it. So it's like a and that's normally when you find a female with a cub, or when she's even with around a male, but they don't purr like you would find with a domestic cat. They have a very different voice box system and larynx, and it produces a very different sound. But you can see he's decided that he's not too interested in whatever it was, and he's now gone flat again and is keeping up with his napping schedule. I didn't think he would be up for too long. He seems to be very tired this morning, so I'm pretty sure he's going to have a really good day's sleep, and like I was saying earlier, he's in the most perfect place for it. I'm just trying to work out how I'm going to actually get out of here, because I really don't think I want to have a death drop down into the drainage line. It will be very unfortunate, and both Seb and I do want to live to see another day. So I'm trying to work out the best way to get out of here, which is obviously going to be straight backwards, but I'm just trying to see if I go back how bad it will actually be. Now, Tristan, you're wondering if I think Mvula would have chased the hyenas off the kill last night. It depends. If there was only one hyena and it was a fairly young male, I believe it was a male hyena. I didn't actually see it for myself, but I believe it was a male hyena. Then yes, I think he would have. I think he would have chased that male hyena away. He also would have been probably strong enough to drag that carcass towards a tree as soon as that hyena showed up on the scene. So I would have expected him probably to keep the carcass better than what we saw from Hosanna or whoever the other leopard was. I know there's been lots of debate between Tandi and Shongile, but I believe it was Tandi. I asked the guys in the east and they said it was Tandi. And so he has the strength to not only confront that hyena and show a bit of bravado, but also to be able to take it up into a tree itself. So I think in all likelihood he probably would have kept that kill. Had it been a big matriarchal female hyena, maybe not. I have seen them dominate male leopards from time to time, and particularly an older male like this. He's experienced enough to know that a fight with a hyena is really not going to get him anywhere. It's just a death sentence at the end of the day if that hyena grabs onto him. So rather than risk getting hurt and doing that, rather leave the carcass and try and get another one another day. So he probably would have chased off that male, but female, maybe not. Isn't he beautiful though? He's a very good looking specimen of a leopard, and like I say, I'm pretty sure that he's going to be here this afternoon. Now, I believe a lot of you are excited to see how the girls do this afternoon. I feel like the boys have risen to the challenge and have done all right this morning. What do you think, Seb? We done okay?
We did pretty well.
We did pretty well, so let's see how the girls do this afternoon. I'm sure they'll do well, knowing Ali's luck from last night, and I'm sure Taylor is raring to go. So between the two of them, I'm sure they will be able to find lots of interesting things. And well, even if they don't, both of them are quite entertaining in their own right, and certainly will not be a quiet drive from a noise point of view. The two of them do like to chat. Now, it is that time of the day, unfortunately. We are getting to the end of our sunrise safari, so it's been an absolute pleasure to have you all with us, and I hope that you've enjoyed the wild dogs, the 3 leopards, the elephants, and well, the gun show that is Byron. And so from myself, Byron, Seb and Craig and Megan in FC, we'll see you all on the Sunset Safari.